Oh, I'm sorry, I'm waiting for translation. We don't have translation. Pura Pita no Bhagavan. Can repeat? Everyone? Anyone?
Putra Pita no Bhagavan.
Daksho Duhit Trivatsala.
Daksho Dihitri Vatsalha.
Kam Vinita Varambacha.
Kam Pranita Param Vatsa.
Ya Pritchatana Pritak. Pura Pita no Bhagavan.
Utta Pitano Bhagavan.
Daksho Duhit Trivatsala.
Daso Duti Vasara.
Kam Vinita Varambacha.
Kadvinita
Pranita Param Vatsa.
Ya Pritchatana Pritak.
Ite Aprichatana Pritak.
Okay. Anyone else?
Pura Pitano Bhagavan Daksha Durge Vatsalaha Kambita Varam Vatsa Iti Aprishatana Pritak.
Pura Pitano Bhagavan.
Pura
Daksho
Pitana Bhagavan.
Pura Pitano Bhagavan.
Pura Pitano Bhagavan.
Bhaksho Duhit Trivatsalaha.
Daso Drihiti Vasara.
Okay. Pura.
Pura.
In days long ago.
And this long ago.
Pita.
Pita.
Father.
Father.
Na. Our. Bhagavan.
Bhagavan.
The most opulent.
The most opulent.
Daksha.
Daksha.
Duhit Trivatsalaha.
Duriti Vasachara.
Affectionate to his daughters.
Affection to his daughter.
Come.
Unto
whom? Vinita. You want to accept.
You want to accept.
Varam. Your husband.
Your husband.
Vatsaha.
Vasaha.
Oh, my children.
Oh, my children.
Iti. Thus. Apritchata. Inquired.
Inquire.
Na. Us. Pritak. Separately. In days long ago, our father, the most opulent Daksha, who was affectionate to his daughters, asked each of us separately, whom would we prefer to select as our husband? Purport by His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It appears from this verse that free selection of a husband was allowed by the father, but not free association. The daughters were asked separately to submit their selection of a husband who was famous for his acts and personality. The ultimate selection depended on the choice of the father. Just a minute. Okay. And it said 13 and 14, so I'll read 14. Sa vidit twat majanam no bhavan santana bhavanaha trayodashadatat tasam yas te shilam anuvrataha. Our well-wishing father Daksha, after knowing our intentions, handed over 13 as his daughters to you, and since within we have all been faithful. Purport. Generally, the daughters were too shy to express their opinions before their father, but the father would accept the daughter's intentions through someone else, such as the grandmother to whom the grandchildren had free access. King Daksha collected the opinions of his daughters and thus handed over 13 to Kasyapa. Every one of Diti's sisters was a mother of children. Therefore, since Diti was equally faithful to the same husband, why should she remain without children? Om Gyana Timirandasya Kananjana Shalakaya Chaksura Militanyena Dasmai Shri Grave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham No. Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sajajatam Sahagana Raghunath Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Harijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitams Cha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desa Tarine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyas Cha Kripa Sindubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. All right, so this is a little lesson in Vedic culture, which we can't really imitate. And this is dealing with the very high level, Kshatriyas. And Daksha is a demigod. So, and the daughters then are also demigod goddesses. And so they weren't like freely going around just testing men and looking for men, but just like Rukmini, she had heard about Krishna from Narada Muni, and just by hearing about Krishna, she wanted him for her husband, which was a very good choice. And we have others like that. And then we have all these Swayamvaras that the Kshatriyas had, where the king would announce that his daughter is available, and then all the princes would come, try to compete to marry the wonderful daughter. It's become completely perverted now in Kali Yuga. That the men come and tell the father, if you give me so much money, I'll marry your daughter. And they've got this idea that the daughter is inauspicious and, they have to get them married at an early age, otherwise they'll get bad karma. And they think daughters can't carry on to do the whatever pinned or whatever is required, after the father dies, they need a son. That's not true at all, but they just don't know the Vedas at all. It's been so perverted and turned completely upside down. The famous story of Savitri. Her father was a great king, and she was extremely qualified in every way, beauty and intelligence and everything. And no man would marry her. They all felt that she's too superior to them. And, man wants to be superior to the wife. So the father didn't know what to do. So he let her go looking for a husband. He sent a loyal minister or something and took her all around the world. And she saw one young man who was a prince and his father, but they had been kicked out of their kingdom. But she immediately saw him, and that she wanted to marry him. He was a very, high-class person. So she went back and told her father, and the father, this was like a long time ago, and they have a lot of connections. The father told Narada Muni, and Narada Muni got kind of a sad look on his face. And the father said, what, is he not a good man or what? Narada Muni said, no, he's very, very good, but he's cursed to die in like 1 year or something. And the daughter knew that, but she wanted to marry him anyway. So they got married, and after 1 year, he died, and Yamaraj came. And Yamaraj was taking the husband away, and the lady was crying, no, you can't take my husband. And Yamaraj said, I have to take him, it's a curse, but I bless you that you will have many sons. So then she said, wait a minute, how can I have sons without a husband? Because the women aren't going to remarry. So then Yamaraj said that she tricked him, and he gave the husband back. He came back to life, and gradually somehow they got the kingdom back, and everything became very glorious. But nowadays, like in our movement, for instance, Prabhupada writes, he said, people criticize him because he did weddings for his disciples. He actually did the yagya, no sannyasi ever did that before. But, he had to get the disciples married. There was no culture there in America, no one else to do it. And so he even arranged marriages, people would want to get married, but then many were begging him and want to marry, and then not very long afterward, they want a divorce. So Prabhupada just said, I have nothing to do with it anymore. You're two lusty people. You have to choose your own. And if anyone wants to get married, they have to know two things. They have to work and pay for their own way, and they have to suffer. So we had a lot of lust marriages. In India, they call it love marriage, and a lot of divorce in the early days. Now it's pretty settled down. But this culture is not really, we can't imitate, I think we can just follow Vedic culture, because we're just not cultured. So this is interesting that the father would ask the daughters, because the daughters, they didn't get a formal education like a gurukul or something, but they were around, when in the palace, sages would come and sadhus, and they would talk about different personalities, from their travels. So they would hear about all these different princes and everything. And then they would get attracted to somebody just from hearing about them. But they weren't going out looking, hunting, but like modern people. And then the father would find out, this is interesting, that the daughter might not directly want to tell the father, but she would tell her grandmother, and the grandmother would tell the father, and this way he would know. Then he tried to make arrangements. So somehow all these daughters of Daksha, they wanted to marry Kardama Muni. So this is Diti, and this turns out to be the whole story of Hiranyakashipu. For having sex at the wrong time of day. It's strange how in this story, people blame the woman, because she was begging the husband, and he was saying it's not a good time. But he was weak. He wasn't like Haridas Thakur or something. So he succumbed. He couldn't wait like another half hour or something, or hour, whatever it would take. So they impregnated at the very inauspicious time. And they got, he told her, these sons will be demons. Of course, Hiranyakashipu and Inraksha, that they weren't just some ordinary result of some bad karma or bad behavior of the mother and father. This was Krishna's pastime. So I think everybody knows, from here, the whole story. We don't want to ruin it, but in our day and age, in our movement and all over the world, I see so much on the internet, how a wife should behave toward the husband, how the husband should behave. And many, many women are talking how the wife has to be submissive, things that the wife shouldn't do, because the modern women, they're used to, independence and freedom, and they make the man feel unwanted and not needed. And India is one of the main places of domestic violence. That's a strange combination of words. Domestic is supposed to mean peaceful and nice, like a domesticated animal is a cat or a dog or a cow or something, but not a wild animal. But domestic violence, kind of contradictory terms, but it means in the home. And they said one of the main reasons is sometimes the wife is earning more money than the husband. And then the husband, to prove that he's actually powerful and stronger, he beats up the wife, because the wife is weak, physically weaker, even though she may make more money. But the wife thinks, I don't need my husband, I have money. Then I see many stories of a woman that said, yeah, I had a good career, I was making a lot of money. I thought, I don't need my husband, I can enjoy life. Now I'm 40 years old, and my husband got married again, and he's got a nice family, and he's happy, and I'm miserable. So they're trying to teach a lesson, but lust is the enemy. Lust is the all-devouring sinful enemy of mankind. And Arjuna asked that famous question, which many people ask, why do we do things that we don't really want to do, and we know it's wrong, but we do it anyway? And he says it's lust and lust only, Arjuna, the all-devouring sinful enemy of mankind. It burns like fire. I'm just dealing with some devotees who were divorced. It's such a mess, It's just so pathetic. And nowadays, everybody's a throwaway society. Everything is throwaway. Everything comes in a throwaway container. Throw away your shaving blade. People used to have one shaving blade their whole life and just sharpen it. Now we throw away one every other day and just pollute the world. throw away diapers. We used to wash the diapers, throw away the diapers, and that's all just totally very hard to, unrecyclable, terrible stuff. Throw away everything. Throw away your wife, throw away your husband, throw away your child if there's troubles. Throw away your parents, if they don't agree with you on something, want you to be a good, So this is Kali Yuga, and the demons are working very hard to destroy culture, destroy the family life. Like Africa, the traditional culture in many ways is still present, although it's mixed up. But some good principles are there, like the American former vice president. I heard she went around Africa and she was telling the presidents of the African countries that they should legalize homosex marriage like America. And the African leaders said, get out of here. They'd say, well, we won't give you any aid. They said, we don't care. We have our culture, we have our principles. So that's very admirable, that they understand, and they have some understanding of their Bible and their Quran or whatever. And, and they know what's God's natural will. So we have to, preserve culture. All the ancient cultures are not very much different. Vedic culture, of course, has much more details about everything, but every ancient culture has worship of demigods and have rituals, and they have, that you're supposed to be humble and meek, and, everything is there. But Kali Yuga is trying very hard to, separate everybody, make everything very impersonal. Everything is automatic, everything is by machine. I haven't been here to a supermarket. Supermarkets in some countries, they still have a checkout counter with a person, but they also have one where there's no person there. You beep it yourself, scan it yourself, put the money in the slot, or put your phone against the machine and pay, and you go. You don't talk to anybody. And even in Japan, the clerk never touches the money. They say, put it in the slot, and you put your money in the slot, and it comes out another slot at the other end, automatic. Nobody talks to anybody. They just scan the codes. And this is how Kali, and taking the name of convenience and everything. You can pay with your phone. I think you can do that here now also. India is very advanced in that. So we're trying to be personal. Someone was asking me, what does impersonal mean? So in a spiritual sense, it means God is not a person. And if God is not a person, then ultimately we're not persons either. Everything is nothing, or everything is all one, everything is the same. It's all gray or all white or all black. And then the other side of impersonalism is all or nothing. But the definition of nothing and oneness is a bunch of word jugglery that you wouldn't know the difference. And socially, impersonally means also you treat everybody the same. We don't see that everybody's individual. We're impersonal. Everyone has to line up, wear the same dress, the same smile, the same frown, the same footsteps. You're not a person anymore. You're just a number. You're not even a number sometimes, but impersonal. So we're supposed to be personalists. We're supposed to believe that God is a person, so we're also eternal persons. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these king. So because of this impersonalist, people are very frustrated. They have no idea what the future has in store for them. They don't have friends. all our friends are on Facebook or Instagram or somewhere that we don't really know who they are. We don't know if they're, a lot of times they turn out to be criminals and thieves and seducers and everything else. And people have trouble, just talking to somebody face to face. Now we're Zooming everything, and it's quite convenient, to be able to be connected with people from other countries. Here we've got, I don't know, Hari Chakra is still in India or not, but, devotees are in different places. I see Salika's in New Vrindavan, and Sahadev's always in some opulent hotel room, right? He never has I told him you should put a temple behind it or something. But you can see you're going to get in your next life, maybe you'll be living in hotels as a cleaning lady or something. You can spend all your life in opulent hotel rooms. But anyway, devotees are around. And this is also miraculous that we can connect like this. But at the same time, it's impersonalizing. So after the lockdown, when people started having person-to-person meetings again, they found how much better it was. I know, like GBC meeting online, it's 4:00 in the morning, someone else it's 11:00 at night, and it's very hard to keep on track because everybody's in a different modes of nature, Some it's like 4:30 in the morning, some places 11:00 at night. So others, it's the middle of the day. So it's not like a personal meeting where everybody's on the same page or the same schedule. So Hiranyakasipu, I don't know if any of you saw the movie, Nrsimha Bhagavan, what was it? Maha Avatar Nrsimha. Anybody see it? Huh? Nobody? It's on Netflix now. It's quite good. The guy is becoming a devotee. He made it. It got a lot of prizes as the most popular animation in India this year. And it was quite good preaching in it. Prahlad's preaching was very good. And Hiranyakasipu's preaching was very good also. The funny part was when Nrsimhadev was dragging Hiranyakasipu by the hair, and he was dragging him to the doorway, and Hiranyakasipu was laughing, and he was saying, "I can't be killed in the day, I can't be killed in the night, I can't be killed in the inside, I can't be killed outside, I can't be killed by weapon, can't be killed by demigod." Ho, 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 ho. And then the Nrsimhadev got in the doorway and sat him on his lap and was ripping him apart and saying, "It's not day, it's not night. I'm not a man, I'm not an animal, I'm not a demigod. This is no weapon. And everything." And Hiranyakasipu was killed. But Krishna is always a little bit smarter. We think we can trick Krishna. We have to be very, very careful. Krishna is in the heart of devotees, and Krishna loves devotees. So Lord Chaitanya, there's 3 or 4 verses. One of them I know by heart. The other same, but a little bit different word order. But Vaishnav Seva Nama Sankirtan Dui Pabe Shigra. Shri Krishna Charan said that simply by Vaishnav Seva, and he puts that first. And then he says Nama Sankirtan. By Vaishnav Seva and Nama Sankirtan, very quickly, just by these 2 things, one can get the lotus feet of Krishna, Shri Krishna Charan. So that's very important. By Vaishnava Aparad, we can lose everything. This is especially stressed in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. It says that even if someone is as powerful as Lord Shiva, by Vaishnava aparadha, he can lose all his opulences, can lose everything. So they're trying to warn us, to be careful. Better to walk softly, We have a saying in America, I don't know if you have, walking on eggs. They have that saying. Ever heard that? Anybody say yes or no? Haribol? Anybody there?
Yeah, I've heard it said here in the US. Yes.
Walking on eggs. Anybody's
Yes,
heard that?
Maharaj. Yes,
I
Maharaj.
mean, you have to be very careful not to smash the eggs.
Yeah.
And one woman who's like she's a very famous speaker, and she wrote a book called Tongue Fu, like Kung Fu, but Tongue Fu. You have to be careful about your tongue. It's very powerful. Things you should be careful never to say. So she wrote a book called Talking on Eggs. You have to be careful when we're talking. If we offend devotees, the devotee, Vishwanath Chakravarti says, the devotee may say, oh, no problem, but Krishna doesn't see it that way. Krishna takes it seriously. So best is to serve devotees. Vaishnav Seva, Nama Sankirtan. Try to serve devotees. That's our mission. It's Lord Chaitanya's mission, to distribute his books all over. I just saw the African book distribution report. So Nigeria did 1,100 books and Ghana 880. So that's pretty good. I mean, it's a big increase from before. But we have to take the books seriously. We have to take care of when we have books, keep them very nicely, and display them very nicely so that anyone who comes to the temple, will see them, see that we care about them and we take care of them. Don't just have them on a dusty old shelf with spider webs in front, which I've seen sometimes, and serve the devotees. There's nothing higher than serving devotees. Krishna is more pleased than if we try to serve him directly. He would much rather see us. That's why we try to serve the spiritual master. But we can't all access spiritual master directly, but serve every devotee that pleases the spiritual master, then he'll tell Krishna. So the marriage thing, hopefully we can get more and more sober. So marriages, and we have a lot of long-lasting marriages, I think, in this group. We have some short-lasting ones also, but if it's based on lust, in India they call it a love marriage, lust marriage. They have a very high divorce rate. The arranged marriages, they have a much lower divorce rate. I know in America, when people hear about arranged marriage, they just can't, how can you do that? But because they have culture, they have some respect for their parents. One Indian man, one of the first Indian men I ever dealt with closely, he was at the time over 60. He was married, he had 7 children. And he said when he was, I don't know how old he was, like less than 20 years old, his grandfather was dying. And his grandfather said, I want you to be married. Here's the name of 3 women. Choose the one you want. So he just chose the name. And just because he wanted to please his grandfather, and evidently the woman also wanted to please somebody. So they got married and they stayed married and had 7 children. Then he was crying. He said all his children, they were named Sita and Ram and Lakshman and, Krishna. He said, but the grandchildren, none of the grandchildren had a name of Krishna. they all just had some crazy names that they made up. So he was sad about that because they think, my children will help me remember Krishna. And I was seeing that when I was in Bombay, and that was in the 1978, that I saw the life members we were dealing with. Their name was OP and RK and, and SR or something. And then I found out their name was Radhakrishnan and Om Prakash and Sita Ram and things like that, but they didn't want to say that because they're doing international business and they didn't want to appear to be Indians or something. So they just used their initials. But we should be proud. Like we're happy to wear tilak. We want people to see us. We want people to remember Krishna. Whatever we can do, if you can make people remember Krishna by dressing in short pants and having long hair, okay. But whatever it is, you have to be making people remember Krishna. That's our real mission. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So I'll leave it. If anybody's awake there, you can have a question. Please ask serious. Hansa Duta Das. Looking, who is that? Where is he? I haven't seen that name before or that picture. Who is it, Hamsa Duta Das?
Maharaj, you know him, but he used to be called Dr. Hassan.
Well, you changed asanas.
Yes.
The other picture, you're sitting in a beautiful Vyasasana. Now you're in a
Hare
truck.
Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj. Please kindly accept my respectful obeisance to the nine lotus feet.
Where are you?
Dear Guru Srila Prabhupada.
Where
Please,
are you?
I'm here in New Vrindavan.
New Vrindavan.
Yes, Maharaj.
Good. All right. Any questions?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Maharaj. We've been missing you for a couple months.
Yeah,
So,
because of the time zone. I'm in Africa now.
yeah, I heard. So thank you for visiting the place.
You can tune in anytime. We try to broadcast the morning class, but this morning I had no internet. I had internet, but it went off. It couldn't handle a live broadcast.
Yeah. Well, Maharaj, I have this question. Like you rightly said, here in the US, we have adjusted our time. I know we have specific time for Mangarati, which is 4:30, as set by Srila Prabhupada. In the case of Diti and Kashyapa, one of the reasons why the children were demons was because they met at the wrong time. Now, in the US, for example, and most European countries where we have adjusted time, how dangerous that is to our devotional service. For example, in Gidanagri now, if we should have Mangarati, which is 4:30, because we've adjusted the time, it's 5:30, but we still have it as 4:30. How does that affect our devotional activities?
Can you kind of slow down and repeat it?
I was saying that in the case
The question part.
Yeah, the question part is how does the adjustment of the time affect our devotional activities?
Well, Arctic is transcendental. So in one sense, it's ideally, before sunrise, a certain time Now, in the northern hemisphere, in the summer, sunrise is what, 4 o'clock, or in Sweden it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, the sun comes up. Then in the winter, sunrise is like 8 in the morning. So we can't go by that. In India, you can, because the time doesn't change in Africa. So it's pretty much the same all year, but their sexual combination is not transcendental, and it's not beyond the influence of time and space. It's a material thing, so therefore it's influenced. So for us, we have to be regulated by, we can't be changing all the time and so drastically the time we have Artik and everything. So we just go by the clock. And because it's what Prabhupada gave us. But the activity is transcendental in worshiping the deities. So that doesn't matter. Although ideally, for yagyas, but, for weddings, but all those things are not exactly transcendental. So Nam Namakari Bahudan into Sarva Shakti, Trapita Niyamata Smarne Nakalaha, Itadasi Tabakripa Bhagavan Mamapi, Udaivam Idisham, Ihajani Nanarajaha. There's no hard and fast rules for the chanting of the holy name. For other yagyas that are mundane, for ceremonies, for new car ceremony or a new house ceremony, there are good proper time and place, and it's important. And it's impossible in this day and age practically to follow all that. But this yagya, other yagyas, you have to be in the right place at the right time. You have to have the perfect brahmanas. So many things, hard and fast rules. Otherwise it won't work. But chanting the holy name, there are no hard and fast rules. There are rules. If we want to chant offensively and we want to, do it, properly, but it's not affected like that. But ordinary activities like for Kashyapa, people on that level, they should have had a Garbhanan Samskara and all kinds of things before they could unite. But they didn't. They just did it on the urge of lust. So they got in trouble. But it was Krishna, that particular thing was all Krishna's will to cause that to happen. But also show us that Kashyapa was a great sage, but he wasn't completely free from, he got bewildered by his wife's seduction. He didn't have the strength to say, to not wait, to wait. But Artik and all that, that's not affected. But, we're supposed to do it before sunrise. In the northern countries, sometimes of the year, that's, it's just not practical because sunrise is 3:30 or something, 4 o'clock. All right.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maharaj.
That's why we say no hard and fast rules. But Jayadevati Swami said there's soft and slow rules for chanting. Otherwise, the Sahajiyas say, you can chant, you can smoke, you can be intoxicated, and you can be doing all kinds of sinful activities, but you just chant and you'll be freed from your sins. That's the worst offense.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Hamsarita Prabhu, yes, please, you may unmute.
Who else? Somebody?
Yes. Yes. Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj. Please can you accept my battle overseas once again? Maharaj, please, my question is that it was a promise that Hiranyakashipu and his brother has to become a demon for 3 lifetimes so that they can be saved. So everything is arranged by Krishna. And for what is the name? I forgot. What do you call it? I wrote it here. Kasyapa Muni. Yes, Kasyapa Muni. He has to, when DT approach him, he has to fall for it because it's a Krishna's arrangement. Because if he did not fall for it, this children should have not come. So can we still say that he was weak, or is Krishna's arrangement that he has to be weak?
Both. Simultaneously, one and different, you know. Krishna arranges so many things to teach us different lessons. So ultimately, you know, it's Krishna's arrangement, but we can't try to apply it to our own life or something.
Yes, so Maharaj, in this case, can we say that he was not weak, but it was Krishna's arrangement that made him weak?
Well, not exactly, because he wasn't a pure devotee. So Krishna arranged that it was him, you know, that was weak. Krishna used him, but he was weak. Krishna arranged everything, but it's not that Krishna just made him weak. He knew better, but he got overwhelmed by lust. And that's Krishna showing that anyone can be overwhelmed by lust, even a great sage like that. So elevated, you know, that the daughters of the demigod is marrying him, and that all the daughters wanted to marry him.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
It wasn't because, you know, he was a rich man or something, but because he was a great sage. But still, he wasn't a pure devotee, like Prabhupada mentions in purports. And Hiranyakasipu, like Haridas Thakur, you know, the prostitute tried everything, but he could resist. Because he had Krishna. He was absorbed in Krishna. Okay?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
We can say whatever we want, but we should be careful. You know? Because we can say, one time when Maharaji burned the sweet rice, and Prabhupada said, "Why did you burn the sweet rice?" And she was very new. She said, "Oh, Krishna's mercy." And Prabhupada said, "Don't blame Krishna for your stupidity." You know? So we have to be careful. Krishna made me do it. No. Krishna lets us do it because we want to. All right? Smita Sati.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisance of Bishop Prabhupada. Maharaj, my question is bordered around chastity within a married life. We're reading the verse we're reading today is talking about how the process of marriage is constituted in those days. In our time, we see that sometimes two devotees comes together, and in the middle of their devotional life, one person slips away. And in this case, we see that sometimes the husband have to get to marry another wife, or sometimes the wife have to get to marry another husband. And when these circumstances happen, what are the best devotional advice you have for couples who have these challenges?
What's that? Last part?
What is the spiritual guide for a couple that has a challenge? One of the party decides no longer to be a devotee. what should
Yeah.
the other party do? Because we've seen that there are so many cases in our system now that a devotee marries 2-3 times within the devotee community because the wife supposedly is not functional. Maybe the wife no longer has interest in devotional service, she's lagging behind, then the husband marries another one or marries another one 2-3 times, or the wife marries another husband like that. Both parties are like that. So I'm asking, irrespective of the gender, what should the couple do when there is such a situation?
Well, it depends on many, many things. You know, you can't make a hard and fast rule. Right? It depends on children. Sometimes some couples, one can be not a devotee, but not against the other one being a devotee, you know, but sometimes if one is totally against the other one being a devotee, then they really can't stay together, you know, it's very impossible. And it's very hard to predict whether that's going to happen or not, but it'd have to be all case by case because there's always differences.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So that's like, it's, you know, it's difficult. Even in the material world, that, you know, the marriage thing is such a problem. Marriage counselors are in great demand, and, you know, divorce lawyers are very busy people. And, you know, it's because, but in our case, like 2 people may be, you know, seemingly good devotees. That's why we're trying to have premarital training and all kinds of things, you know, before people get married. Let them really understand what both of them, what their goals are in life, you know, so that we can prevent that to some extent from happening. Because a lot of times at the moment they get along, they're both pujaris or both something, they seem to really get along, but they don't discuss what their ideas are for the future, or how many children they want, or how they want to manage money, or how they want to live. And then when they start finding out, then more and more they don't get along. Okay, good question.
Thank you very much.
We need people to study and be trained in marriage counseling.
Well, Maharaj, if you still have a little more time, I have one question, if you'll be able to take it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Maharaj. My question still is in regards to this marriage that we're talking about. We understand that the Vedic tradition is the best if we all can try to apply that in our lives. Now, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada was explaining that the women are allowed to pick their own husbands, and then they will suggest who the husband is to their father. And the father has the ultimate say. So 13 daughters to Prajapati Daksha, they all selected one man. Individually, that is what they selected. And I'm thinking that all the 13 did not know that their other siblings have also picked or selected the same man. But Prajapati Daksha knew that all the 13 daughters have selected one man. And he accepted. He allowed all the 13 daughters to get married to one man, which in today's culture is very much unhealthy. In most cultures around the world, no one would dare accept one man to marry to 13 daughters. So what do we learn from this experience that Prajapati Daksha went through with his daughters, marrying them to one particular man in this way? What's the name? I haven't forgotten the name of the husband. Kapila. Kapila, yes.
What it says is that the girl would have some choice, but ultimately it was up to the father, and they would follow. Now, I said from the beginning, this is dealing with demigods, like super cultured people. I think for like Sudras, they don't have so much. I don't know how the Sudra standard is. But nowadays, like Krishna, all the women he married, they wanted to marry Krishna, but Krishna had to compete, to prove himself to the father. That was his Leela, Sita was, she hadn't chosen anybody until she saw Lord Ram when he entered the city. But that was like right before the Swayamvar anyway. But so the father was picking, according to who could pass the test, but he knew that the test that nobody could pass it except God, So now we're in Kali Yuga and things are very much different. I have seen tragic cases in Indians where, they felt like they have to get their daughter married. I knew one family that the daughter had chosen a boy. The father was quite wealthy. She was the youngest daughter, and she had a boyfriend from the poor side of town. And the father was so much against it. And this girl was quite devotional also. And father forced her to marry this rich guy who wasn't a devotee, was a beefeater and a drunkard. And she was crying and really against it, but she couldn't go against her father. And then it was horrible. And the father just said, if you're so pure, you can change him. And then she took a vow she'd never have sex. And the whole family of the boy was harassing her. And finally it broke up, and she couldn't get married again within that society. And, so that's going on now, modern days. So there's more and more. So in our society, there's still a lot of marriages that are pretty sober, but people have to be trained, like what is household life all about before they get into it, because nowadays people they live in dysfunctional families and everything. When they come to Krishna consciousness, and they have no training, they have no experience. If everybody's really Krishna conscious, then we can overcome any problems. But we're not all that Krishna conscious. All right?
Yeah, thank you, Maharaj. So is it safe to say that this example of Prajapati Daksha should not be followed in this age?
Well, Daksha, Brahma told him to Sati should marry Shiva. He didn't like that idea at all, but he had to obey his father. He was angry at his father, but he suffered for it.
Well, thank you so much, Maharaj.
Yeah. Grandfather arranged the marriage.
Oh, it seems Govinda Prabhu has something to ask or to share. Govinda Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, my respectful obeisances to you, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to the assembled devotees. Maharaj, thank you very much for this detailed, wonderful presentation.
Would you like coconut water? Yes. Take your coffee. Yes, that's what I told a chincha a long time. Haribol?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. Dasha Prajapati incidents, you rightly said that this incident happened in a demigod family. In other words, their era and the era of ours today, Kali Yoga, here on Earth planet, is not the same, and they are very highly elevated personalities, and so some of their activities can never be emulated. So my question is, talking of marriages today, we see a lot of divorces in marriage. That this thing happened because some of these marriages, the fathers have no idea. They don't know anything about it. The women just walk out and choose their own husband. Is that the reason why there are so many marriages? And if a father has to choose for the daughter and the daughter refuses to take the father's instruction, what are the consequences in that kind of marriage? If the daughter decides this is the person, by all means, I have to.
But sometimes it'll work out, sometimes it won't. You know, like that case I said, the father just wanted his daughter to marry a rich man. You know, he wasn't concerned about the daughter's happiness or anything. He just thought if it's a rich man, it'd be good. But, you know, the guy was a beef eater and a drunkard. So that didn't work out at all. But I know another Indian also, he was very nice, from Brahmin family, South Indian. And I never met the daughter, but he said, my daughter is divorced. And then he kind of mumbled and he said, well, we knew it was a bad marriage. And I was thinking, well, why did you let her get married? You know, they knew it wasn't going to work. They knew the guy was no good, but they thought, I have to get the daughter married. In this so-called Hindu culture, you know, if you don't get the daughter married by a certain age, and it's in trouble. Fortunately, her daughter was a doctor, so she didn't have to worry about money. But then she's got 2 children and no husband. That's not so nice. But, you know, so basically marriage is karma, and can try to help people. But nowadays, you know, if you recommend something to your daughter, she'll go against it. If you're against the guy, she'll go more and more in favor of him. So you just have to let them, you know, hopefully they're trained properly to have some good, you know, sense, because mostly people choose their own. But many devotees now, but mostly those I've heard of, they're from Indian families. You know, they get introduced, and then that, you know, somebody thinks this might be a good match, and it works out. But mostly, you know, it's falling in love. But if they're both devotees enough, then they can step by step, and they can get to know each other properly before they settle down. All right.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Maharaj.
you.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
for having me. I was wondering. I mean, I had wherever I was, the time zone was just totally ridiculous. You know, to do. Or so, a little more. All right.
Hare Krishna.
Srimad Bhagavatam Jai, Hiranyakasipu ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari.
Hare. So, Hare Krishna, then what is, please, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute your thumbs, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our deepest appreciation to our revered speaker for today, His Holiness KAVICANDRA Swami Maharaj, for sharing his love and wisdom with us all. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Ram, Hare Ram,
Rama
Ram Ram,
Hare
Rama
Hare.
Rama, Hare Hare.
Vacha Karpata Patitanam Pavashne
Nanda Koti
Om
Vashan,
Krishna. Jai.
Let's conclude.